going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Running Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my guy, Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. Matt Llewellyn will be joining us shortly. He is just getting off of work. We are going to be previewing the 49ers Week 6 matchup versus the Cleveland Browns, which kicks off tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Before we do, hit like, hit subscribe, and if you are tuning in on Twitter, or I keep saying Twitter, X, if you're tuning in on X, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive. Join from there so we can see and interact with your comments. We're not ignoring you on X. We just can't see it. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I am doing well, man. I'm over at my buddy's house right now. We got some cigars going, watching some boxing, and then I get to talk some Niners with you guys. Oh, doesn't get much better than this, man. I'm living the dream over here. How about yourself?
Not bad, man. Not bad. I was rushing home, trying to make the show in time, but that's all right. Everything's great. I'm ready to talk some 49ers. See a lot of fans in the chat. Very, very active already. Appreciate you guys. Hit like, hit subscribe, like I said, and we're going to get this show kicked off right away. Mike, I keep hearing all week about how tough this Cleveland Browns defense is, number one, and number two, how Kyle Shanahan has rarely had any luck against defenses specifically coached by Jim Schwartz, who is the Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator. Obviously, we'll get into the injury report, who's playing quarterback for them, which I think is very important. But as far as the defense, how concerned are you about the 49ers' ability to move the ball and score in the red zone?
Yeah, we have to put some respect on the Browns defense. They haven't had the toughest schedule, but I mean, you can also say that's probably in part because teams are playing them, are we a bad team or are we a really good defense? We make all teams look mediocre or bad, right? 163.7 yards total per game. Also, only 52 rushing yards a game. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. I don't know, man. I don't know if Kyle matches up well against scheme or if he matches up against personnel and tendencies and traits. This year, it feels more like it's a traits thing of the individuals, which would require way more planning, right? As opposed to scheme, but like making someone commit, maybe it's part of the process of, all right, what are you guys seeing out there on the field? Okay, then we'll do this next time around, why the slow starts typically tend to happen. But I am concerned about the scoring from the aspect of, does the 30 streak continue? But overall, I mean, I don't think it's going to be one of those kind of things where we're in trouble offensively. Maybe we only put up 27. You know what I mean? So it's more of one of those things. I don't think I'm worried about the ability to score on this defense.
Yeah, likewise. Look, let's be real. This is arguably a better defense than the 49ers faced last week again from the Dallas Cowboys. I think statistically they are a better defense. I think they're the number one ranked defense, specifically passing defense. But I don't think that should hinder the 49ers' ability at all, just like you, Mike. I think the 49ers, and I'm choosing my words carefully here, and I still am going to say I think they're worlds above most other teams in the NFL. I think save the Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes and what the Eagles are doing in Philly, every other team, and again, I'm choosing my words carefully, but I don't think can compete that closely with this team. I think just everything's clicking so well, and the missing piece has always been a quarterback to put it together. We talked about it in the last show, Mike, how the defense was keeping teams under 15 points last year, and that still wasn't good enough with Jimmy Garoppolo under center. Not to throw shots at Jimmy, but it's like the offense was just missing MIA some weeks. That has not been the case since Brock Purdy has come in and played quarterback for the 49ers. They've scored over 30 points, I think all but one or two times since he started and finished games. So
yeah,
it's extremely impressive.
Yeah. Seattle, I believe the last game that we played Seattle, we didn't get over 30. And I mean, obviously the Eagles game, I don't know if people are counting that on the,
I wouldn't.
Brock Purdy docket. But there was one
Cowboys game.
Wash. The Cowboys game. I don't know if we put up over 30 against Washington. I know it was a slow start in the first half, but I know we picked it up in the second half. So, I mean, that was about it, though. What I like to do is look at the common opponents, right? And there's not a lot of them at all. but we do have one, and we played them around the same time. Week 1, the Niners opened the season up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 2, the Browns got a chance to play them. Uh, Arguably the same offense, right? The Niners held the Steelers to 7 points, and the Browns, actually one of their only losses, gave up 26 points, you know? So, and by the way, little tidbit here, in the last 20 regular season games, or no, the last 20 games, I'm sorry, the Niners opponents are 19-1 the following week, and the Steelers are that one win against the Browns. I'm sorry,
Other way.
1-19. I'm sorry, 1-19. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the Steelers are that one team that won the following week after playing the Niners so far. So I still think that's an incredible stat. It has nothing to do with what we are doing currently. You know, it's like always the game later, but I still think it's a phenomenal stat, man. That's insane to me.
I've never seen anything like it. Really haven't. It just speaks to the physicality of the 49ers. Um, I'm thinking of, as soon as I said that, Drake Greenlaw flashes in my head, tossing Tony Pollard out of bounds. Were you surprised that didn't draw a flag?
I was, and it's immediately, and it was like, oh man, here we go. And then even Dre, he starts running back to the hashes, and then when he gets there, he turns around really quick, no flag, and he's like, yeah. Like I think he even expected a little something because people were like, oh no, he made contact inside. Yeah, when he first touched him, he was inside the white. The slam definitely happened outside the white. Like he should have. I wouldn't have been mad if it was a flag, but I was happy to see that the refs were letting them play that day, and you know, it worked out for us. We still, I think, finished that game with 6 penalties, but you know, it's down from what we started with earlier in the season. So we're seeing some improvements all around.
Yeah. So the comment here from Jedi, the over is 36. SF going to get that alone. I'm hearing reports of bad weather. I don't think it's supposed to rain during the game, but there's like a storm going on in Cleveland right now. And ESPN has the over under at 36. The Niners are favored by 9.5 points. That's a lot of points, but I also have to consider the 49ers have won every game by an average of 20 points this season. I don't know how much into gambling you are, Mike, but do you think they cover 9.5 points?
I think Cleveland's going to really struggle to put up points in the Niners, so I would say yes, because it doesn't sound like a lot, right? If we end up winning this game, we end up winning this game 13-3, right? Let's say the weather is just terrible. You cover that 9. So it doesn't look like it's a super low scoring game, but I mean, you absolutely can cover that. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I actually have the forecast pulled up here for tomorrow, and it's saying 54 degrees. So it's going to be a little chilly out there, breezy with a few showers. So it's not a lot of rain. And I'm trying to pull up the hourly projections right now, but it's not giving me that on this site that I'm on. So I think we'll be okay though. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. But either way, I'm excited because this is something that I think another kind of like what's the word I'm looking for, test, right? Another something that can this comment, something that Brock Purdy can add and say that yes, I've overcome that as well. Whether a tough defense, whatever the case may be, because for
On the
some
road,
reason
yeah.
on the road, a team that Kyle Shanahan, my coach, has not historically had much success against. For some reason, people are continuing to question Brock Purdy, which I'm totally fine, right? I'm a content creator. I have a podcast. I would like to question this guy as far as content goes for the next year because it makes for good content. But as a fan, I'm obviously thinking I think he's done enough to prove himself as, at the very least, the answer for the 49ers quarterback position moving forward. You put out a tweet earlier today, I believe, a post earlier today, Mike. Let me pull it up. And I'm going to read it and maybe have you elaborate a little more about your thoughts on Brock Purdy. Because you said Brock Purdy, some true statements about Brock Purdy that 49ers fans need to accept and not be offended by. 1, he's not elite yet. 2, he's a system quarterback. That's okay. Most are. 3, his numbers wouldn't look as good without a supporting cast. So what? And 4, we need to see more and want to. Can you just elaborate a little more? Because I saw you responding to people that clearly were taking this either the wrong way, out of context. Can you just elaborate a little more about that post?
I would love to. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to as well. So the thing is, Niner fans, we've been so long like us against the world that we're fishing for insults on anything, right? We have the second highest scoring offense in the NFL. And if it weren't for that 70-point game, we would have the highest, right? But you can't take that away. What happened is what happened, right? We have one of the best defenses in the NFL. We have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I feel like we're digging and we're looking for like how can we drum up this like mentality? Like they hate us. They're against us. You know what I mean? Like, and so the problem with that is we start sounding silly and emotional, and there's just certain things we should not be getting offended by. And that's what that list was about, right? It's okay for someone to say Brock Purdy's not elite. I saw the hate on Shannon Sharp. If anyone says he's not elite, what else do you want him to do? What else do you want him to do? It's simple. Just do it more. We're not saying he needs to get better. We're not saying he's a liability, right? We're not saying that he's not going to be elite, but 10 games is just that. It's just 10 games. If he keeps on this way, elite him, right? But let him do it for a season first, right? Like we can't sit here and just be angry that people aren't donning this kid elite right now after 10 regular season starts. It just doesn't make any sense. We can't do that. Um, we can. I'm okay with that. The second thing is, but by the way, it's not an insult when they say that he's not elite. If they're not saying he's a bad quarterback, they're just saying it's too soon to put him in that elite category. I want people to realize, like, if you want a ranking, ask for a ranking. But elite means like elite. There should be 2, 3 elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Period. That doesn't mean that they're not tier one or tier two. It just means that elite is used for a very specific status, and Brock Purdy's not there yet because he hasn't done it consistently. Okay. The second one was he's a system quarterback. You can't name a Hall of Fame quarterback that's not a system quarterback because when the quarterbacks are really good, they get in a system and they stay in that system. That's how it works. That's how it happens. If there's nothing wrong with someone telling you Brock Purdy's a system quarterback, even if they mean it as an insult, we have to have the mental wherewithal to say, yeah, okay, name me a Hall of Fame quarterback that wasn't a system quarterback. Because Drew Brees wasn't good until after he got into Sean Payton's system. You know what I mean? Like he became a system quarterback where he was. The quarterbacks who travel from team to team to team to team that aren't system guys usually bring part of that system with them. Tom Brady is the biggest example of that. He went over there with Bruce Arians and had the option and the influence over how that offense was run. That was Tom Brady's doing. He even selected certain players to come over there with him in that system. It's okay. It's not an insult to say that he's a system quarterback. Or even if they mean it that way, we shouldn't take it as an insult. Number 3 was his numbers wouldn't look as good without his supporting cast. So what? He has a supporting cast. You can't take Brock Purdy off of this team and put him on the Giants and say, okay, now what's he going to do? Let them ifs and what ifs and buts and all that, all they want. We just shouldn't be offended by it. So when they say that to you as an insult or as a knock on him, what do you want us to do? Bench other players just so we can make you happy? Like, no, we have a really good team.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be. And then the last thing is just we need to see more, which is kind of like part one, right? If we need to see more, we need to see consistency, and that'll happen with time. Who he is who he's going to be, right? He can still improve, he can still take a step back, but we don't know until we see it. We just got to see more, and it's okay. It's not an insult. For if someone were to tell you, I need to see more of Brock Purdy, you shouldn't be like, no, the hell you don't. What else do you need to see? I saw it in game 2. I remember Colin Kaepernick's first start. I thought the Niners had a player, the best quarterback they've ever had after Colin Kaepernick's first start. I was completely sold. He was throwing the ball deep, throwing the ball shallow. He was throwing with touch. He actually lost touch as his career went on. It was the craziest thing. But if we had to just put this crown on him after one start, we'd have looked silly. If we had to put a crown on him after 5 starts, we would have looked silly. So it's just I just want us to like not be offended so easily. Like, it's time for us to be cocky. It's time for us to be arrogant. When people start throwing shade at us, now it's time to laugh, not get angry. Like, you're jealous, huh? Like, this is the best you got. This is the way you're trying to hate on this team. Like, you want to try to pick on Brock Purdy, who, by the way, I guarantee you is playing better than whatever team's quarterback that is talking to you right now. I guarantee you he's playing better than whatever opposing team is talking trash about him. I bet you Brock Purdy is playing better at the quarterback position than their starting quarterback. It's time for us to flex. We are the big dogs now. Accept it, embrace it.
I love that. I love that a lot. So my whole take on Brock Purdy is, if we were to, and I like to do this because I don't know, maybe it makes these a little more interesting, easier to imagine, but it's like going on a date with somebody and you've gone out with them a couple times. They're great. They're very nice to, if maybe say they met your parents already, they're nice to your parents. They, open the door when you get in, they get in the passenger. It's kind of an old school thing, I guess, now, because cars have electronic locks. But previously, it's like you get in an older car, and if the girl reached over and unlocked the door for you, you're like, oh, okay, she's really thoughtful. That type of thing. And then your buddies are like, so why aren't you marrying her? And it's like, well, I've been on 5 dates with her, like she's done everything you've asked. She cooks for you. She unlocked the door. It's like, let's just pump the brakes. Like, let's just say, yes, if this were to continue as it is, then sure, maybe that'd probably be the conversation we're having, but it's just way too early for that. And I think 49ers fans gets caught up, and you made a great point, Mike, rankings, right? I want a specific number of where Brock Purdy is. I'm much more comfortable with tiers, right? Much more comfortable with, this is a group of guys that I probably wouldn't take over Brock Purdy. This is another group of guys that I would take over Brock Purdy. Now, the latter list has grown smaller and smaller each week as this guy, Brock Purdy, continues to play and impress. But physically, of course, there's going to be more physically gifted quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a reason why he slept or lasted all the way till the 7th round, right? Like, that's not like it was a fluke or people forgot. No, there's a reason. But he's overcome all of those doubts. He's not let any of those physical, limitations hinder his ability to play one bit. He's overcome everything. So as long as this continues, then I'm totally fine with saying he's trending in that elite tier. He's going to get up into that top tier, but we just need to see more of it, right? I think 49ers fans, or maybe I should say NFL fans, are so cautious to kind of crown a player, especially a quarterback, so quickly, because we've seen drop-offs. We've seen you had a fantastic season. Then what? We've seen, you mentioned Colin Kaepernick. We've seen Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and won it with Nick Foles. Nothing has looked like that type of Carson Wentz since, that version of him. So
not even close.
Yeah, right. I'm fine with waiting. But he's been very impressive.
He has been. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know why we want to like fast forward and say that he's already in the Hall of Fame. And I hope, all of us hope that that's the case. All of us want him to be the elite guy that he's projecting to be. Let's just get there. Let's just get there. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. I'm glad you had a chance to explain that, because I saw a lot of people kind of angrily coming for you for that take. And when I read it, I thought, yes, makes sense. Okay. And then I'm reading the responses, F you. And, I'm just like, whoa, let's calm down here, guys.
Right. Meanwhile, I really meant it for like to inspire people to be like courageous, and you know what I'm saying. Like I wasn't saying it as a knock on Purdy. It's like, hey guys, like we shouldn't be offended because it's not the insult they think it is. I was very specific in the tweet. It's not the insult they think it is.
Also, and I hate to even say this, but we just made a quarterback the highest paid at his position 6 years ago, after 5 games, right? 5 games he started for the 49ers, and then his contract was up, and the 49ers, instead of franchise tagging him, I don't know why, I don't know, maybe they couldn't, I don't know what the circumstance was, why they didn't. They gave him the richest quarterback. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Don Yee wasn't letting Jimmy Garoppolo get franchise tagged.
Yeah, okay.
That agent is too good.
So I'm comfortable now if things are continue trending this way, Brock Purdy is going to be extremely wealthy in 2 years when it's able to negotiate his contract. So we as fans should say that contract is going to cost the 49ers other star players, right? Because you can't keep the band together once you pay your quarterback. The rookie scale has been the whole thing that's been benefiting them so far. So I don't understand why fans were so quick to rush and say, yes, he's worth that contract, when we fully are aware of the implications that that contract then offers down the line, or the consequences, I should say, with maybe you can't keep a George Kittle anymore. Maybe you can't keep a Brandon Ayuk anymore. Maybe you can't keep a Deebo Samuel anymore. You will then be forced to make tough decisions because your quarterback no longer costs 940 grand. Your quarterback's now costing 43 million. Your quarterback's now costing 46 million. I mean, come 2 years, who knows what the cap hit's going to be for a top tier quarterback? It's probably going to be 50 million. So
yeah,
let's just make sure, because last time didn't work out. That's all I'm saying. Let's just be damn sure, because it didn't work out. Jimmy didn't finish his career here. I don't know if you guys noticed that. He's not playing here anymore, and he's still playing. So
no, I agree. I agree. And I have all the confidence in the world in Brock Purdy until I have a reason to not be confident in him. But, just let's slow walk the dog, guys.
And I like this. I like this comment from 187. Hot take: Purdy will get better. I agree with this. 100%. I'm not down on the kid whatsoever. We just need to see it, right? It's like, hey, I'm a really good cook and you made a couple good meals. It's like, okay, sure. We need to see you continue doing that. And as I'm saying that, my guy Matt has joined us. So let's welcome Matt to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Matt.
Hello. How's it going, gentlemen?
Not bad, not bad. We were just discussing the national conversation around Brock Purdy and whether or not he's elite and the rush to call him elite. If you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have your guys that say that he's elite. You're going to have your guys that say he's going to be a system guy. A lot of these things can be true. A lot of these things can be in flux. A lot of these things can be in motion. What truly is elite? If you tell me people unquestionably, Patrick Mahomes is elite. I don't know this season. He doesn't look elite this season. And part of that is his wide receivers are pretty bad. It turns out that football is the ultimate team game, and you need everybody on board in all three phases to become an amazing team. So it's not just one thing that either makes Brock Purdy successful or makes him just a system guy. I think we can look at the 49ers in particular and say it's a little bit of both, right? Brock Purdy is probably being propped up a little bit by Kyle Shanahan's system, but also Brock Purdy is the quarterback that's run Kyle Shanahan's system the best. Both things can be true, and I don't understand the digging in your heels of either way. Let's just enjoy the ride. Brock Purdy's playing amazing football. The 49ers are dominating this season. I can't even remember the last time. 2019 maybe the 49ers got off to such a hot start?
Yep.
I mean, they're playing fantastically. It looks like everything is breaking our way in terms of, what we get, a Randy Gregory just pretty free and clear, right? We've been relatively healthy so far, whereas other teams around the league have not. We got to take these blessings as we get them and not look a gift horse in the mouth, because it can turn at any moment. And I hate to throw that out there, but for the people that just nitpick everything and want to just overanalyze, you're missing the forest for the trees, man. Like, it's not always the destination. You got to enjoy the journey that you're on too. And right now, Brock Purdy has taken us on one hell of a ride.
I have one more question on it. I know it's a tiring thing, and it's not over. We'll have this discussion plenty more. He's going to go out here and have a great game, and we're going to be right back at it. I told you. That's the best defense in the league, and here we go, right? Do you think that any of this is because of Twitter receipts or X receipts? Is it like I said it first? Do you think like this why so many people are like want to be so definitive in one side or the other? And if you're not on one side or the other, you have to get attacked?
Somewhat. I think it's almost like a look, I had it here. You had it here, like just like you said, Mike. I said it first. You can trust my takes moving forward. But I don't know. It really is weird, because then it's like, would you really be so quick? What if you're wrong? Like, and it's kind of looking like people are wrong if they're saying he's not. I don't understand what, like Matt said, it could be a fluid situation, right? Like, why does it need to be definitive yes or no at this point so early on? Why not just allow it to develop?
Yeah.
It's weird.
And here's the thing too. I think that people are having a hard time reconciling what Brock Purdy is, from the national to the local. You look at the fact that this team drafted a Trey Lance at 3 overall, and it just never seemed to work out. It just never seemed to click. And then you get Brock Purdy, last pick in the draft, and yet he's playing really, really well. How did so many people miss on Brock Purdy? And I think it's not wanting to recognize that sometimes people slip through the cracks. They end up being better than you think they're going to be. Yep. And you don't always have to be able to determine where the unicorn comes from to be able to enjoy, the beauty of the unicorn. It's just they feel so badly that they need to justify that Brock Purdy was this 7th round Mr. Irrelevant pick. They have a hard time letting go. It's why 1st round picks get so many chances over and over and over because of the cachet that comes with that pick. Whereas I think Brock Purdy gets some of the opposite, right? Well, they picked Trey Lance and that didn't work out. Why is this 7th rounder working out? He's just a 7th round guy. It's got to be the system. It's got to be the system. Yep. Rather than somebody made a mistake. Yeah. And we see it happen every now and again where a really good player just gets overlooked. Yep. That especially at the quarterback position, you'll see that. And I think it's just hard for people to reconcile what he's doing versus where he was picked at. So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah. And to just add on, and then we'll move on to the Browns game. But I've been listening to, shout out to 95.7, the radio station, because they stream all of their shows to YouTube. So when I'm at work, I got my AirPods in and I'm listening to these guys' radio show, and they're really entertaining. I believe it was Steiny and Guru has coined this term as draftism, Matt, that these draft experts almost feel embarrassed that they missed on Brock Purdy and he turned out to be really good. Therefore, they're kind of using it against him and saying, yeah, but it's not all him. It's not Purdy. I mean, we saw, was it Orlovsky say, put Mac Jones in that system and he played just as well, which is the most ridiculous statement I think I've ever heard. Because if you just simply watch the film, I think it was Kurt Benkert last week, Brock Purdy's first touchdown where he scrambles out of the pocket, rolls forward, and hits George Kittle. Do you guys think Kyle Shanahan's dialing up scrambles? Like, do you think he's drawing a scramble in his play, saying you're going to evade pressure to the right, move forward, and then hit him? No, like that's clearly all on the player, right? Like, so I think it's something draftism. Shout out to, I believe it's Steiny and Guru's show coined that term, but it's ridiculous. I don't know if you guys have any more thoughts on it. Feel free. If not, we can move on.
No, I think it's very telling for the people that are critiquing and for the people that are overhyping that we can't just let this be a feel-good story. It's either got to be all or nothing, right? It's not Mr. Irrelevant is doing a great job and he's playing above his draft position. It's got to be, oh, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, or he's a bum that's being propped up by Kyle Shanahan's system. You're just ruining one of the probably the best draft stories in history.
Yeah.
I mean, they make movies off of stuff like this, right? The Kurt Warner story. There was that I can't remember what the movie's name was, but it was like Mark Wahlberg played the guy that was like a garbage man in Philadelphia. There you go. Invincible, is that what it was?
Yep.
Right. There's all this stuff. What is it, Brian's song or whatever? About the running back or whatever. It's an old movie. It's like I can't remember what it's about. It's it's about the running back passed away. Anyway, be that as it may, they make movies out of stuff like this. This is like a Hollywood story that if you pitched it, they'd be like, no, that's unrealistic, except it's real. And people just are not allowing themselves to enjoy the ride. And I'm telling you that this stuff does not last forever. These rides last. I mean, how long did we were like, man, seems like Tom Brady's been playing forever, man. The Patriots are good forever. And now guess what?
Yes.
They're dog dookie. Yeah. They are trash.
Yeah.
Trash. Yeah. And all those Patriots fans have probably been like, dang, I wish we would have enjoyed the ride a little bit longer because now it came to a sudden stop and it's ugly.
Right. Right. Imagine that story, right? It's funny you say like pitching it and how it would have sounded, right? Hey guys, let's make a movie where Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft, like their biggest moment is usually being Mr. Irrelevant and the coverage they get right after, and then they're off of the team and out of the league, right? But we're going to write a story where this kid is undefeated in the regular season. And, he's going to eventually win a Super Bowl and blah, 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 right? Like, that's the ride that we're on right now. That's what we're experiencing. And they'd be like, no. Can you name a Mr. Irrelevant that's ever completed a pass? No, because it didn't exist. Now you want us to give us one that's going to be a winner and never lost a regular season game through 10 games? Like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing that. If they would have literally laughed you out of the room, like you're just doing too much. You want to, give them a Rudy moment. That's fine. Go out there and make a couple plays here or there. We can write that, but we're not going to make this guy one of the best quarterbacks in the 2023 season after being Mr. Irrelevant the season before. Oh, and the arm injury and all that. Like, no, we're not writing that. That's crazy. Like, Matt, you got a great point there, man.
I would like to argue, one, a movie could already be made of his story last year, even though it did not end well. I mean, hey, how many movies end with, hey, they went to the championship, but they didn't win the big game based off a true story? Like that, just his whole coming to as a 49ers quarterback was as storybook and fictional as I could imagine. Two players got hurt in front of you, one being a player they traded all this capital to get, the other one they have a long-standing relationship with who's taken them to the Super Bowl before. So it's already storybook-ish. And two, I really just don't understand with Brock Purdy why I totally just lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. But I think I was going to mention something about how Brock Purdy and the need to constantly ask more of him and hypotheticalize, if that's a real word, different situations, right? Yes, he's good, but put him on the Bears down 21 in the fourth quarter. Can he come back? I don't think so. It's like, we don't ask that of anybody else. We don't ask that of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes came in for a playoff team that had Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Nobody ever said, well, who knows what he'd be like without them? Who knows what he'd be like on the Colts? Let's just enjoy what it is, because it's great football. And it's not like, Mike, to add on to your point, 10 undefeated games or whatever it is, it's not like he is barely winning these games. It's not like we're watching Tim Tebow out there where it's like, yeah, he won, but there's a lot of context there with that win. No, he's playing extremely well, and his team blowing teams out. So I just needed to add that because it's infuriating to watch, and I just got to bite my tongue because it's almost like Jimmy versus Trey. Like, there's no reason in arguing. None of them are even 49ers players.
Right.
Go back to me. Matt, you mentioned how quickly a quarterback's lifespan is in the NFL. When we thought about this offseason, if the 49ers actually did hit on Brock Purdy, we were like, they may not have to answer the quarterback question for another decade and a half. That's such a short time. Like, can we just really think about how quick that is? Like, if the 49ers found their generational quarterback, we're talking about 10 to 15 years. Like 10 to 15 years, and that's it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it while we have it, because it's so quick. Even the longest ones like that. So just had to.
Absolutely. And I think that you shouldn't allow the one thing that I would say about Twitter, X, social media, just in general, whatever. Don't, if you like Brock Purdy, don't let somebody else's opinion ruin it for you. And don't give oxygen to people like Steven Ruiz that continue to put him in the 20s and just stuff that is so obviously agenda driven and so phony that it's just, if somebody comes up and tells me that, I'm an animal, I kick dogs. It's just like, all right, I'm not going to be mad at, like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense, right? It's not who I am. If you know that Brock Purdy is not the 26th or 22nd or whatever ranked quarterback that he has, and that, he's not worse than Mac Jones or this or that, like, don't let Steven Ruiz's trash analysis bother you, right? Like, if you think it's trash, it's trash. There was a guy who was saying that Brock Purdy's not going to last as long as Aaron Rodgers in the league because of, like, the biomechanics of the throwing motion, and his biomechanical knowledge was trash. And I called him out on it, and he never responded. But at the same time, it's like, you don't have to get mad at this guy because he's saying, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers. First of all, they're two completely different players, right? Aaron Rodgers has size, does have an arm, but if you know it's not true, don't get mad about it. Like, you don't have to give air to these people. If you enjoy Brock Purdy, if you enjoy what the 49ers are doing, don't let other people bother you. You enjoy it, right? If you like Spumoni ice cream, don't let somebody tell you it's trash. Like, enjoy your Spumoni ice cream. That's all I can say,
The Steven Ruiz thing is like, it's almost like somebody coming over to him and be like, hey, you know what? Joe Montana wasn't a good football player. It's like, okay, if that's how you feel, then, and congratulations. I'm not going to entertain that thought. I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. It's like, congratulations, you're a whack job, because you're clearly just, he's so committed to the bit now that even if Brock Purdy has like an MVP season, he's not going to change course.
No, and you know damn well that if the 49ers win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, that he's not going to not cover the NFL anymore like he said he was going to do, because nobody actually follows through on what they say.
No.
So,
although I will give, gosh, what's his name? Jay something, Steelers fan. He bet that if the Niners won over 8 games last season, he'd eat a shirt. And I think he actually did eat a shirt. So shout out to him. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Is he the GOAT?
Jay, I thought it was Jay something. Chat, if you know who I'm talking about, he covers the Steelers. I'm pretty sure we followed.
He actually ate a shirt. I mean, I'd give him credit for just
not an entire shirt. I think he had.
I know that. I know.
Shirt. I'm pretty sure he did.
Wow. I mean, we remember there's been head coaches in the NFL that have said things. If we go 0-5 or 0-16, I'll jump into the Cleveland River or whatever. That was Hugh Jackson. And they went 0-16, and then the next year they went one. Oh no, I'm sorry. They went 1-15 the first year, and then they asked him about it, and they were 0-8, and they were like, "Are you going to go 0-16 after going 1-15?" He goes, "If that happens, I'll jump into the river."
I think it was Lake Erie or whatever.
Yeah,
one of the Great Lakes.
And he didn't do it, but like a coach at the microphone said that, right? Because it's just like it's never going to happen. Yeah, well, hello, here you go. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's hilarious. All right. I think that concludes our Brock Purdy discussion. Matt, do you want to check out the private chat here? And
I did. We can touch on it briefly. I think we all are of the same opinion, and we can move on quickly from it.
There's nothing much to say other than last night it was kind of revealed through, I forget who tweeted.
We don't even have to name names. Everybody knows what you're going to talk about right now.
Jack Hammer, right, of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, I believe was the outlet. It was revealed in 2006 while he was working at Ansobrato High School, a school that's like 15 minutes from me, by the way, as a coach engaged in, let's just say, inappropriate acts sexually with a minor, a student at the school. Obviously, Jack Hammer is a pseudonym. It's not a real name. His real name, Jeff Parsons or Jeff something like
Patterson.
that. Patterson, thank you. So this comes out. We had I might have interacted with him on X a couple of times. We never had him on the show. Mike, I don't think he was ever on a Nothing But Niners show. I know he was a very frequent guest of other channels. So I know a lot of people are feeling obligated to come out and kind of, I don't want to say defend themselves or put out a public statement. What else is to say but pedophilia is disgusting and fuck pedophiles. Like there's nothing else I could say. So of course we don't stand with that, and of course we condemn it.
He's been fired. His Twitter page is gone. I don't know anything about his YouTube page. I wasn't a subscriber there anyway. I never worked with him, and good riddance. Like there's not a lot to elaborate on. We were all as surprised by the news as everyone else. What you won't see me saying is shit like no one should be punished forever. And there's certain things that I don't forgive. Like, fuck that shit. Like, castrate him, drown him. I don't give a shit what happens to him at this point. But what's done is done. He's no longer around on there. He's been fired. I thought it was a little weak that, the post that went out from the Press Democrat or Grant was like, oh, we fired someone today. Like, fucking say
49ers blogger.
Right. Like that was like clickbaity. Like, make us click the link to make sure it was him. Like, what? Like, stop it, man. Like, denounce that shit, walk away from it, and keep it moving. Don't make the moment bigger than what it has to be.
Yep. I'm in concurrence with these guys. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You mess with kids, I don't give a shit what happens to you. You deserve the worst of the worst. The one thing that I will add is that all these people that are sitting here on social media trying to pretend like they knew what this guy was or whatever, when they were fucking with them on like social media, when they had him on their shows and stuff like that, and are now coming out after the fact being like, somebody shows you this, you should believe them. Man, y'all are full of shit.
Y'all are full of shit. What are they saying now? What happened?
People are trying to pretend like they knew that he was like a scumbag ahead of time, but all these people had him on their shows. All these people were interacting with him, whatever. Look, don't fake the funk, dude. Condemn what he did now, and don't try to act like you're that fake moral standing is such bullshit. And it's why all you are a bunch of fucking phonies. You don't need, this is not the time to try to win points with your Twitter followers or whatever. Fuck that, dude.
Yeah.
This dude was a fucking creep. He got exposed. He deserved it. He can go fuck off now. And you don't need to sit there and try to be like, well, I knew the whole time. Man, fuck you. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about exposing somebody who needed to be exposed and trying to help out somebody who probably has lived trauma from what this guy did to her. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not about
And if you knew the whole time, why didn't you say something? Like, so what does that say about you then?
That means you're part of the problem. Why you have him on your show? If he's a creep, if he's this, if he's that, and you knew that there was always something about him, man, y'all are full of shit. Y'all need to stop that shit. It's not about you.
Jesus Christ, man, it's disgusting.
By the way,
it's
just real quick, Avatar says innocent until proven guilty. It went to trial. He pleaded no contest, and he was sentenced over. So it's not like it was just allegations.
Right.
There's a whole transcript. If you Google Jeff Patterson, Sobrato High School, there's an entire transcript where the police were on the phone while this minor 17-year-old girl called him, talked about what they did together. Yep. It's not up for debate.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not a debate.
And I'm shocked and disappointed in the justice system that he didn't have to register as a sex offender. That to me is pretty scary. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, it definitely was him. I mean, they revoked his teaching credentials permanently.
And can I just say sorry, Mike, just real quick. What a weaselly ass excuse by the Santa Rosa Press Democrat to say he was an independent contractor. We don't hold him to the same standards as an employee. We never ran a background check or anything like that. He was your lead 49ers reporter. You're telling me if I walk in there and I say, my name's Chad Thundercock, you're not going to run a background check? You're not going to check anything? Like, he had a fake name. So I don't get it. But weaselly ass excuse.
Also, by the way, to step back out into the public square with that pseudonym, like, why don't you just say, ha ha ha, I got away with it? Like, fuck you, dude. You need to jump ass first into a pencil factory. Like, fuck you.
I've never heard that one before. Shout out to Great Fox 198 super chat. Hey, best 49ers pod. Tomorrow we take Schwartz money off Shanahan's back. That's right.
Yes, let's please move on and get to the topic at hand.
We saw the chat asking us to kind of address it, so that's the only reason why we felt the need to address it. He's in our community, even though we never worked directly with him. That's the only reason why we're addressing it. I see people questioning, why is this in a 49ers podcast? That's the only reason why, right? That's the only reason why. So not to get drama related, any shit like that. That's the only reason we ever discuss it. All right. Let's get into the 49ers offense, because I tweeted out earlier, posted earlier, it's so difficult to try and predict who's going to have a big game. Just when I think Debo's due, Ayuk goes off. When Ayuk goes off, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick Ayuk next week. And then Kittle goes off. Matt, I'm going to throw it back to you. How is there any tales as to who any opposing defense is supposed to guard when it comes to this offense?
Right. And I think it's going to be a problem of recency. You know what I mean? Like, all right, who's going off for the 49ers? It's been Christian McCaffrey so far. All right, let's stop that guy. Oh, shit. We stopped that guy, but then this guy goes off, right? Brandon Ayuk is going off. Let's stop him. Oh, wait, now Debo's going to have a good game, right? Oh, let's stop Debo. Oh, Ayuk's going to have – okay. It's too many weapons. The 49ers have too much to stop them completely. And I know all the things going around, Shanahan's career high against the Jim Schwartz defense is 23. They very well could surpass this, although I do think that there's a chance for a lower scoring game, which I'll talk about just with what the weather is supposed to be in Cleveland. But this is not a team that you can shut everything down. It's like when the Warriors were at the height of their power, right? Yeah, you can concentrate on Steph Curry, but then Klay Thompson's going to go off. If you concentrate on Klay Thompson, well, then you got Steph, right? Draymond can do some stuff, right? You got too many weapons to try to reliably, stop everything. Someone's going to get theirs, even if it's not the guy that you expect. Even if you take most of the people out, somebody's going to eat, and you can't stop it all. So that's where the 49ers are at this point. And I think they're going to continue rolling, especially given, Cleveland's pretty decimated on the offensive side. Yeah. The offensive side of the ball for them they're looking pretty thin. So it's hard to stop. And the more opportunities that you give the offense, the more likely it is, which we saw sometimes with Jimmy Garoppolo led offenses where if we weren't scoring, our top end defense, great. Oh, nope, there's a drive. Oh, nope, there's a drive, because now you're getting tired. You can't stay on the field. I suspect that tomorrow will be a lot like that for sure.
Mike, I'm going to ask you. Last week we saw the Dallas Cowboys went into the game focusing on stopping Christian McCaffrey, right? And for the most part, they did. I don't think he topped 60 yards rushing. Obviously, he had a rushing touchdown, but he didn't take over a game like we've seen previously. That didn't help them at all. They still gave up 35 other points, I believe, other than Christian McCaffrey. Even if the Browns focus on stopping CMC, there's just a plethora of weapons, right? Do you think they'll try and take a different approach? Like maybe focus 30% on each player, you know what I mean? Instead of focusing all of their attention on the one star player. How do you think they approach this?
During the Jim Harbaugh year, we went up against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it was 2021. And they were a loaded team. I mean, as far as skill position goes, it was very similar to what the Niners have right now, as far as like just the star power at the tight end position, at the running back position, 2 wide receivers that were very, very well respected, the quarterback, right? And I remember hearing Vic Fangio say something that I thought was incredible. He says, yeah, they have a lot of guys over there, but there's only one ball. If we play to our keys and our assignments, that's how you stop a team that's that loaded. And so if I'm the Browns, that's my game plan, right? Like you get your guy and you do your job. And if something happens, we'll focus on adjusting the scheme and the game plan, but you guys go out there and just execute your job. And if they out scheme us, they out scheme us. That's not on you guys. That's how you try to stop a team like this. I think you'll basically hang yourself. Sorry if that's offensive. I don't know if that's something you're allowed to say anymore, but you would do damage if you sit and try to say this guy is the focal point of this offense. There's 2 ways to beat good teams in the NFL, and that is hit their quarterbacks, ruffle his feathers, and stymie the run game. If you can do both of those in the same game, you will likely have success. That should be how the Browns try to stop the 49ers. Players, names, numbers don't matter at that point.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. There's just so many options for the 49ers that it's so hard to defend. And as a fan, I'm ecstatic. As a bettor, I'm not as ecstatic because it's very hard to predict what the hell's going to happen, but that's all right. The only certainty in life, death, taxes, and Christian McCaffrey getting in the end zone. So I think he'll get in the end zone tomorrow, for his 15th straight game, right?
Any chance Dante Johnson comes back to the Niners? Because that was the other guarantee in life. He just found a way to come back to the roster, Dante Johnson.
Took me a while.
Right.
Before the 49ers played the Cowboys again, I rewatched the last Cowboys playoff game last year, and I'm like, who the hell is that? 27 with the dress. That was Dante Johnson out there.
Dante Johnson, yeah.
He played pretty well last year. I'll give him his credit. He played pretty well. Hey, there's always a chance. I hear they're out poking around for secondary trades, so maybe if trade doesn't work out, they'll bring in Dante Johnson. All right. Let's get into the 49ers defense. Let me read the injury report because I think it kind of coincides with the 49ers defense tomorrow. So obviously the biggest name that's out is Deshaun Watson. He's been medically cleared like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, something with his rotator cuff is keeping him from playing. Joel Bitonio, their fantastic guard, is also out. Cedric Tillman, the wide receiver, is out. Ethan Posich, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. He's questionable, their center. And David Njoku is questionable as well. He had some crazy burns going on in his face. I haven't really heard how it happened. I keep seeing pictures, but I haven't heard how.
I think it was like a propane fire pit.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
I've seen the picture. That's gnarly as fuck, dude.
Yeah. And the fact that he went out and played like that, like when the stuff was still like raw, like it was pink, it hadn't even started to tan yet. And I don't know if you guys have ever put on a football helmet, but like the pads sit like right on your hairline. That shit hurts. Like just in general, to go out and play like that in the tight end position, it's a lot of bang bang stuff at the snap and all that. Like that. Wow, kudos to him. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, you're good. Sorry, this comment kind of cracked me up. Appreciate you guys addressing that though, not putting out some BS statement like we condemn bad thing. Yeah, no problem. We're real people. I mean, fuck. All right. And on the 49ers side, just two, but bigger names. Elijah Mitchell, questionable with that reoccurring knee injury. And Dre Greenlaw is questionable as well. I think he's going to be, I think I saw he's going to be a true game time decision. Mitchell, on the other hand, is trending towards playing last I saw. They did call up a linebacker. I don't have his name off the top of my head. So I would imagine that points to Greenlaw possibly not being able to go. But we shall see. So now I get back to my initial question for the 49ers defense. Last time, the Browns had a bye week last week, but the game before that, Deshaun Watson wasn't able to go. They started Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie, who looked fantastic in the preseason, did not look fantastic last week, was horrific. They decided we're not doing that again. If Deshaun can't go, which he can't, we're going to go with PJ
Walker.
Walker. Thank you. I was going to say Fleck, not Fleck.
Yeah.
PJ Walker. PJ Walker started a handful of games, beat Tom Brady's Bucks. I know they weren't the same Super Bowl team, but still, he's started a handful of games in the NFL. Much more experience than DTR, including starting games on Steve Wilkes' Carolina Panthers when Wilkes was the interim head coach there. Matt, what do you expect from the 49ers defense tomorrow, knowing that they're going up against younger, inexperienced quarterback in PJ?
Yeah, I would expect them to take away what is going to be comfortable for a young quarterback with some mobility. And that would be the running game and the short passing game. I think that they're going to dare PJ Walker to beat them with throwing the ball. And you don't want to listen, Nick Chubb is not there, and that's a bummer. But Kareem Hunt has experience in the system. I believe, who's the other running back? I can't remember his name right now.
Jerome Ford?
Yep, Ford.
And Kareem Hunt?
The other one. Yep. So there are opportunities there for them to maybe run some RPO, to try to get the run game going early, to try to free up room for, PJ Walker to work underneath with some short stuff. But I think that they're going to have to go on the point of attack and really make PJ Walker uncomfortable, shut down the run, and then force him to beat you. And when you do that with a quarterback who doesn't have elite measurables, doesn't have a lot of playing time, you can force him into mistakes. I think the 49ers are going to, start with the run game. That's going to get shut down. 49ers build a lead. And then as the Browns try to fight their way from underneath, mistakes are going to happen. Some turnovers, maybe some coverage sacks. And the 49ers defense, I think it'll be a close, hard-fought game in the first half because the weather report says it's supposed to rain tomorrow. The weather kind of, tends to narrow the talent gap a little bit, but I think the 49ers just have too much on both sides of the ball. And the longer the game goes, the more the 49ers are going to start pulling away at the end of it.
I like that. Adding on to that, Mike, let's say, go ahead.
Chime in two things really quick. It was Curtis Robinson was a linebacker that they brought up.
Thank you.
And then I did get the hourly weather report to show, and it's the oddest thing. The rain is projected to stop around 12:15 and resume after 5. So it's like the exact opposite of week 1 last year, where every time the Niners got the ball against the Bears, right? It's going to be the exact opposite, like sunshine the whole game, and then after the game and before the game, you guys get wet up. So just wanted to put that out there.
Appreciate it. Let me ask you this. Finish the sentence. This is a close game tomorrow if...
I don't want to, because it involves injury at a position that we don't want to see.
Okay, well, that's the only way you can envision it?
It's a close game tomorrow if the Niners have more than 8 drops. How's that?
That's good. I was envisioning turnovers, weather, but you don't think even that would make it a close game, huh?
I think the Browns defense, I'm not going to call them overrated. I think they are what they are. And now they know that they're going to be tested. They're thinking what we're thinking about them, right? We're saying this is the best defense we're going to go up against. They're thinking this is the best offense we're going to go up against. So it's going to be power versus power, and we're going to see what's up. I just don't want to come off too arrogant and cocky, but I don't see it. When you say close, like NFL
one score
close,
game.
Right. Yeah, I don't see it. I just don't think that their offense has a way. Oh, special team scores. If the Browns have 2 special team scores, then it'll be a close game. There you go. And I see someone asking what kind of cigar I'm smoking. It's a CAO Flathead 660, one of my favorite cigars.
Okay, I like that. Matt, we've seen an incredible rookie season from Jake Moody. Does that possibly come to an end tomorrow due to the weather?
Well, I mean, could he have a miss? I mean, he's going to miss eventually. All kickers do. It's not like he's going to be 200 for 200 or whatever to start his career. I do think that, with Mike, I think it's a situation where I think he's right that there's too much talent on the 49ers for everybody on the team to fall asleep at the wheel at the same time. Right? Like a less talented team, if you have your best player maybe not in their right space, you could see a team kind of playing down to their competition. The 49ers have too many pieces, right? Where if a Kittle is not playing the best or whatever, you're not going to get Kittle, BA, Debo, McCaffrey, Purdy, all these guys playing bad on the same day. It's just not a likely scenario. So I don't think, even if Moody does miss, I don't think it's going to be in a position where it's going to hurt the team too seriously. And you want him to get, if he's going to miss, you want it to be in games where you have the talent gap and the margin for that error. So that way it's done, it's passed. All right, move on. Next, come up next. It was a rain game. Don't worry too much about it. On to the next one. Pretty simple stuff.
I like that. And also that just reminds me of what you said there. There's too many talented players for them to kind of fall asleep and play down. I just said, I think in the chat earlier today, that this team has not played down to the level of their opponent, which is something we saw, unfortunately, quite often last season. They were in games up until Purdy came in that they probably had no business being in. On the other side, not I'm talking about competitive wise, I'm talking about you should be blowing this team out, yet you're either within a score or you're down. Maybe aside from that Raiders game where and maybe they were just completely caught by surprise at how good the Raiders were playing. They did not play down to their talent level, and they haven't done so this season at all, which is extremely impressive because that's the sign of a great team. They win games they're supposed to win. How many times have we heard that? A million times. And this team, I said it earlier, they're averaging 20 points per win. Like they're not just squeezing by. They're not Philadelphia-ing teams, right? A point here or there.
When I saw a wild stat too that the 49ers have only trailed for 1 minute and 45 seconds of actual game time this season.
Crazy,
right? I think the Rams opening drive or something like that, right? Or
yeah.
I think we got a field goal, they got a touchdown, and then we had to come back and get a score. I think that was the only time I remember us trailing in a game. So, I mean, look, all of a sudden we have expectations, and they don't seem fluky for the first time since I can remember passionately watching the 49ers. I mean, for all intents and even when I was confident with Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy, or when I was confident in Jim Harbaugh and all that, right? I still felt like the offense was like a little gimmicky and it could be had. I was excited when they first inserted Cap, but then, Greg Roman kind of just showed his true colors. Like he can't do anything in the secondary. Like it was just, terrible, right? You have Vernon Davis and he kind of vanishes. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't feel that right now. I feel like Kyle has a quarterback that he trusts and he can go out there and do whatever he wants to do with. And this is the first time I think even Kyle feels this way, not just here, but like whether it was in Minnesota, I mean, not Minnesota, I'm sorry, with Washington, or if it was with Houston, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think that he ever felt this good in Cleveland. So, we're in a really, really, really good spot. Special teams and an over anxious defense would be the only two concerns for me in this game. I think that Brock Purdy is heady enough, intelligent enough to, if something's not working, to not panic and say, all right, we need to do this instead. Like I think he'll start to rely on the checkdowns and things like that. And again, when you have a check down that's Christian McCaffrey, it's a hell of a weapon. It's a tool. That's not a insurance policy, so to speak, Yeah.
And I think something about Purdy, I've seen a lot of people like, oh, well, I want to see him trailing. I want to see him down, which for some reason just completely discounts the fact that the reason they're up is because of him. Like, it's not like he's a closer in baseball where he comes in where the game's out of reach and, hey, take care of the ball. Let's get through this last 8 minutes. No, like he played the entire game, and he's the reason why they're up 2-3 scores in the fourth. But he's just so level-headed, no matter what the situation is. I mean, I was watching him after the Cowboys game when he was being interviewed by Sunday Night Football crew, and he's just, yeah, it was a good game, and we're focused out here one game at a time. It's like this dude could win the lottery tomorrow, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to work and have a good time, and like nothing affects this kid. It's really amazing to see. So even if they were to find themselves in a position where it's not working, they're down, say 14-0 by a fluke punt return and a fumble or a pick six, I don't know, I am fully confident in the fact that he would be calm, just get to work one pass at a time. So that's the quarterback the 49ers have right now. Let's enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen, because that hasn't been the case recently. All right. Is there anything else you guys wanted to get into before we talk about offensive, defensive MVPs? Matt, I know you got here kind of late, so please, if I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, no, I just think that, again, the Browns, they're going to be missing Joe Bitonio. They're going to be missing Deshaun Watson. They're going to be missing this guy and that guy and this guy. I know that prior to the bye week, Myles Garrett was in a walking boot in the week after the week 4 game. He's going to play most likely, but how effective is he going to be? I think this is just playing into the 49ers' hands of getting an early lead, playing it out, running the clock out, and getting out of town. They have to keep that in mind. And once again, the 49ers can be their own worst enemy. They just have to keep focus. Keep focus, get out of the game healthy. That's what they got to do. And then on to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I do have a question about Myles Garrett playing. So we've heard all the talk about him versus Trent Williams. Trent Williams saying I'm having trouble sleeping at night. He's one of the best guys in the league and blah, 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 blah. He reminds me of DeMarcus Ware, right? I get all that. It's cool. Sounds fun. Is there any chance that they line him up on the right side of the offensive line instead? And do you guys know which of his feet were in a boot? Because I couldn't find it. Because that's going to affect his get off. Everyone's like, oh, Mike, you don't have to worry about that. He predominantly plays over the left side. I get that, but elite players, top athletes can play on another side if they're asked to. I mean, we saw Aaron Donald in that NFC Championship game against the Niners line up literally over every single position, left tackle, right tackle, and then back at the defensive tackle spot. Like, he was all over the line because he knew that he was going to be a force, and he had Von Miller out there as well. Like, he knew I can do certain things. They have good pass rushers over there. I just wonder if there's a chance they try to move him around and maybe take advantage of. You don't want to risk your best pass rusher being completely neutralized throughout the duration of a game. So let him go out there and be a weapon, see what he does. I couldn't find which foot was the injured one, and I don't see him playing on the right of the offensive line, the left of his defensive line a lot.
It's his left foot.
His left foot is the one that was hurt.
Yes, sir. In a boot. Let me pull it up here. Shout out to Mary Kay Cabot with the picture.
There you go. Okay. Wow.
This is after their game before the bye week this previous week.
How that favors him lining up over Trent then. The outside foot is going to be the get off one. So if that left foot is hurt, yeah, okay. Cool.
I mean, they'll put this man anywhere, to answer your question. I really do think they'll put him in. I saw him, taunting the offensive lineman a few weeks ago, looking like a basketball player out there going side to side before the ball snapped, and then just throwing the center on his ass. Like, they're fully confident in putting Myles Garrett. And I think something that we haven't discussed is he actually has like a pass rushing counterpart in Zadarius Smith. Like, it's not just him out there anymore. They have a solid duo.
We ain't talking about Zadarius Smith because I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I think Zadarius Smith is fucking washed.
He's not what he was, but he's respectable.
What has he done this year? Go ahead.
I don't have what he's done. In front of me.
6 tackles.
So what? What does that mean?
So he's not doing anything.
What has Nick Bosa done this year? That you can't say that, man. That's not cool.
Bro, he ain't playing like Nick Bosa. Come on now.
I didn't say he was, but if you're just looking at the stats, I mean, he's got that speed coming off the edge. It's just something to be respected, is all I'm saying. Just something that we can't just say, nah, it's over for him. He's not going to do anything.
He's a capable player. That's all I'm saying. Right.
He's got the ability in there. He might go in there and get some of that Michael Jordan magic water juice, that special stuff, like from Space Jam, and maybe have a really good game. I don't know.
He might find Johnny Manziel's bag of fun. I don't know.
I've got dirty socks. I've got dirty socks that are less washed than him, bro.
All right.
Zach tried to kill me. He tried to kill me.
Matt, is Deshaun faking an injury to not face RD? Pause. Is that a real injury you think he's dealing with, even though he was medically cleared?
Somebody said, who was it? Was it Shefty that came out and said that he had like a deep bruise to the rotator cuff? And I was like,
deep
that
contusion.
sounds
Yeah, that's what they're calling it. Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. Like, does anybody know the mechanism of the original injury?
No.
I don't. There we go.
It's confusing to me. Made it difficult for him to drive the football when he throws. I don't know. I think it's kind of weird to see him. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's the type of guy that would duck competition. I feel like if he could go, he could go. I feel like that's a lot of NFL players, but who knows? Who knows?
There's another option. The Browns don't like what they're seeing from him. And now you want to talk about numbers. But if you guys pull his numbers, the Browns are not seeing a good ROI on this at all. This is one of their worst investments.
I'd push back. He had his best game since he's been a Brown 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago before he had this injury. So I think if anything, there would be a little bit of potential. It'd be a promising performance to say, okay, this is who we're looking for. I don't think that's when they would have pulled the plug. Maybe if he stunk it up the last game, it's not like he lit it up, but it was his best game as a Brown, in my opinion, yet. Okay, sorry, this comment from Scott. I'm not pulling it up, but
now I want to see what that game was. I'm looking it up. I'm not saying that you have to. I'm just gonna pull it. Okay. All right. It's not a bad game. I see it here. 27-33, 289, and 2 touchdowns.
It was his best game as a Brown at the very. I don't know about last season, but for sure this season. So
yeah, no. Last season was worse, way worse. Like not good at all.
But
he ran for 16 yards. So
this is the problem. I don't want to say the problem, but a problem when you give your quarterback $230 million fully guaranteed. Like, there's no incentive for him to rush back. There's no incentive for him to say, you know what? I think I will play this week instead of next week. He's like, I just watched Dak Prescott get his ass kicked. Why do I want to go out there and join that? I'll just join next week. Whoever the hell we play next week, it'll be better than facing this defense. So I don't know. That maybe there's a little bit of because I saw they're like, this could be a multi-game injury where he'll miss another 2 to 3 games. And then today, Adam Schefter saying he could play as early as next Sunday against the Colts. So which one is it?
I mean, listen, either way, with him, without him, it was going to be an uphill slog no matter what. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that a professional athlete will just like be straight ducking. It just seems like just anti-competitive. I don't know whom. I guess you know what though. After Jimmy Ward came out on a podcast and said that Jimmy Garoppolo hit the opt-out for the NFC Championship game, nothing. I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Oh. And it's not the first time Jimmy's been accused of that, by the way. I think Julian Edelman accused him of that as well when Brady was out.
Yes. All right. So let me shoot to Sean Watson some bail. There is an out in his clause of the fully guaranteed where if it's like conduct detrimental to the team, right? And if it is proven that he is cleared and choosing not to play or opting not to play, then he could lose the guarantee. So let's just bank on that side saying that he wouldn't do that. So I'm going to side with Matt when it's all said and done. But the truth of the matter is he don't want no smoke.
It's weird. It's weird. And David says it here. Watson has a history of being a player willing to play through injury in college, but the Browns head coach stating publicly that he's, quote, medically cleared does him no favors with public opinion. Then it's kind of like it's just a matter of pain tolerance, right? Or Adam Schefter kind of tried to make it seem like, well, he doesn't have the ability to really drive on the football like he wants to, so he's not going to play. I don't know. I would argue 50% of a good Deshaun Watson, no offense to PJ, but is better than this PJ kid. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to discuss before we get into our offensive and defensive players? Nope. Mike, if you guys have any questions in the chat, please send them. We'd love to answer them. Thank you for spending your Saturday evening with us. We love you.
I do have a question for you guys. If Kyle Shanahan does get this, monkey off his back about this Schwartz defense thing, and what was it? Would you guys say 23 points was his highest or something like that? 23?
Something like that.
If he goes out there and he does that again, if it's another situation where the starters are out for the fourth quarter, what does that do for your guys' expectations for the rest of the season? Include the weather, include the travel, include all the history for the 49ers. Last time they beat Cleveland in Cleveland, 1984, right? Next week, we got another one coming up like that in Minnesota. That's been over 20 years as well. Who would have thought that, right? Like, we've played Minnesota in Minnesota. And now that I think back to it, it's like, yeah, like we should have won those games, but we didn't. What does that do for your personal expectations of this team? Because I got a big one. If we go out here and we dominate in this game, I got a big one. I got a really, really big expectation that I'm not afraid to say, because I am over if I say it, it's not coming true for the 49ers. The jinxes are all over. I'm wearing whatever jersey I want to wear. I don't have to eat chicken wings anymore during the live games. Like, all of my crazy, silly superstitions are out the window. This team is that good. Yeah. And so if this is the last one here, if we go out there and take care of business, and again, beat the 23 or whatever his high was, I'm being very specific about that. We cover the 9 and we beat that 23 thing. What do you guys got? Like, what changes for you, if anything at all? You might have the same exact expectations.
I can go real quick. One, I'm totally in the same boat as you, Mike. I never bet on the 49ers to win, because last season, anytime I added that and 49ers win to the parlay, they lost. So I stopped doing that. The past 2 weeks, I bet on them to win, and it didn't mess up my parlay. They didn't lose. So I agree they're jinx-proof, 1. And 2, I am fully drinking the Kool-Aid moving forward. I am taking them as covering the spread in every game moving forward, because this is a fantastic defense. Although, to be fair, how good are they when their offense is, maybe they're not doing much and they're out there for 60, 70% of the game? That will wear them down. That will wear down the best of defense. We saw what it did to our defense in the championship game without a quarterback. So I still think it's very impressive on the road, shitty weather, a tough defense, a DC you haven't really had much success against. And if you come out and, like you said in your scenario, Mike, you're resting starters at the top of the fourth quarter, I'm choosing this team every week for the rest of the season. No question at all. Matt, what do you think?
I don't know exactly what we're talking about expectation. I think most of us have Super Bowl expectation. If they're able to go, essentially on a short week after a big emotional high against the Dallas Cowboys, and go to Cleveland in potential weather, 10 a.m. slot, if Kyle Shanahan can get out of there, pull his starters in the fourth quarter, right? We cover the 9. We get higher than the 23. We're looking at this team potentially being a Philadelphia win away from a potential 17-0 season. That's what I'm feeling at this point. They would be good enough. Like, this is allegedly supposed to be the best defense in the NFL, right? Or other than the 49ers. This is the best. Each week, it's the best something the 49ers have ever faced, and they've answered the bell each and every time. If they're able to take out and score more than 23 points on the Browns defense, whether the Browns offense is gimped or not, right? You got to look at it and be like, who's going to beat this team? Who's going to do it? And so that's when I start looking at, I look at the schedule, and, the Bengals aren't going to do it. They don't have the defense, and Joe Burrow's not playing particularly well, right? The Ravens aren't going to do it. Their defense ain't the same, and Lamar Jackson has nobody to throw to, and even when he does throw the ball, I don't think he's that good. So, but y'all know how I feel about that. But who's going to be? I guess it's Philadelphia is the one test that you got left, right? I don't know who else would be, the guys. So yeah, it comes down to who said Stuart Allen, get out of here. See, 49ers going 6-0 in this division. That's just how I feel. Seattle's a paper tiger. I don't believe in Seattle at all. Seattle's beating up on some bums, dude. And they got lucky against Detroit Yeah, I'm not feeling Seattle. We've beaten them pretty convincingly. So yeah, I look at that Philadelphia game as the last hurdle towards a potential undefeated season. That's where I'm at.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%. Let me ask you guys this real quick. Let me answer this question first, actually. Anybody know if they're staying out east for the 2 road games? If so, with Struggle versus Cincy, they are not staying out east. I think it was Fred, maybe, that was on the First and 10 podcast. They're talking about they don't have a trip planned to Youngstown. They are not staying anywhere this season. Every game is individually. There's no trip, so don't worry about that. Let me ask you guys this. Let's say they go to the Super Bowl. February comes, the 49ers are in the Super Bowl against whoever from the AFC. Would you rather them, if you had the choice, right? Say it was completely up to you. Would you rather them be undefeated up until that point? Or would you rather them have 1 or 2 losses up until that point to maybe take a little bit of the pressure off? Does it matter to you? Like, is it a mental thing? How do you guys feel about this? Because I've seen people debate it.
Honestly, I think if we're getting to the point where we're talking about the 49ers in the Super Bowl, I think the level of pressure that you're going to feel being in a Super Bowl is not going to be that much different whether you're undefeated or not. The Super Bowl is already the biggest game that you're going to be playing. So to say it's added pressure being undefeated, like, what does that even look like at that point? You know, I just I think, again, this is coming from the perspective of a fan. I can't even imagine what playing in a Super Bowl would be like. I feel like that would be the most nerve-wracking experience of my life, right? So I feel like the game at hand would make me more nervous than like thinking, oh, we're undefeated. We got a shot at unseating the 72 Dolphins is like the best team of all time. I don't think the athletes think like that. I definitely think like, you know, maybe during the week they're thinking that a little bit, but on game day, it's like, oh shit, here we go. This is Super Bowl time. Like, this is what it's all for. And you concentrate on the moment at hand. So maybe initial, but like, again, once you ratchet it up to that degree, I think the difference between undefeated and not undefeated, it's not going to matter that much because it's the Super Bowl already.
I hear you, Mike.
Saying players, I think the subconscious is a powerful thing, and I do think that players, know it. And they turned up for the Cowboys game, and that wasn't the Super Bowl, right? Like they went into it saying, we know what's at stake. We know what we're up against. Blah 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 blah. Like they get ready for the game, and so if they have that perfect season and it's on the line and everything, I do think it plays a small factor, but a factor nonetheless, right? Like it is something that's going to be in the back of their mind. They are going to want to be perfect out there, and that in it of itself can be a lot of extra added pressure because now it's I didn't do this right. I didn't do this right. You're not thinking about as much of the team as, oh, I was supposed to be making this move as a wide receiver. I was supposed to run this route and cut at 7. I cut at 6, and that caused them to be off a little bit, right? Like you can start to compound the bad choices that you make, So, but I want to answer my question as well as that one, right? Like, so I do think that could play a factor, but if they go out and do what we're talking about with this game against Schwartz's defense, I fully expect the Niners to run the table. I fully expect them to run the table from the whole season. I fully expect it. And we don't have to lose a game in order for us to learn lessons. I can't tell you guys how many times the Niners went out and put up 30 points this season, and they were like, man, we left a lot out there on the table, right? One of the first things that Brock Purdy says is like, I got to be better. I got to do this better, right? Fred Warner says, I can't afford to go out there and play like I did on that third drive, right? Like they go out there and they put this extra pressure on themselves. So they find the right motivation inside the locker room. We can win a close one. Right. I think that Raiders game was a wake up call. I think they kind of overlooked Stidham last year. Right. Like, oh, they don't even have their starter. Man, this is going to be we're going to boat walk these guys. And it's like, holy smokes. Like we got into a shootout. The defense didn't show up. Right. They didn't expect Stidham to do anything. And he's running, he's throwing, he's all over the place. And Adams, like, what are we supposed to do now? Right. We can win games and still take valuable lessons from it. And I think they finally have the staff and roster to learn from. There's enough veterans on this team where you don't have to worry about them just thinking, oh, we won, everything is fine, winning cures all. No, it's how you win also. And that's what's important to this team is the how. It's not that's the one thing I love about this. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago for our chat pack thing, right? Fall in love with the process. I think that's where this team is now. And that's I don't know if we've been there like that all along.
Yeah. And just to add on to that real quick, Matt and also do, I think such a big component of this is the large nucleus of this team is the same one that's been here last year and the year before that. It's not like there's a few of the same guys and a bunch of other rookies and other players. No, this is the most of this team is the same. So it's like when Charlie Brown, when that kid goes to kick the football and that girl keeps pulling it from him every year, they're not going to kick it this year because they're like, it's been pulled from under my foot for the past 4 years. You know, like I've been so fucking close and the ball gets pulled, the rug gets pulled out from under me. So I think they're so on edge and they're so used to being so good, the best in the NFL until when it actually comes to the actual point, the final point, championship game, Super Bowl, and then something happens. So I think they're so hesitant. Maybe I shouldn't say hesitant, cautious of that happening, that they wouldn't allow it to happen because they've all been here. It's like, hey, we were all here last year, minus a couple of guys. Most of us were here last year when we saw this exact situation play out, and look how it ended. Do we have a ring? No. So we have to take it even a step further this year because we all know what it takes. So, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Mike's point to, you don't have to lose to learn lessons goes to my thinking of, the 49ers have too many dogs to have all of them play bad on the same day, right? You can learn lessons. You can have people, man, I didn't play well today. And then have it to where you don't lose the game, but those guys learn something, get better for the next one. And that can actually be happening on a rotational basis, right? Again, a player has a bad week. The next week they learn from it, they go out, they tighten it up. And more often than not with this level of talent, you're going to have 1, maybe 2 games where they're actually like off, but it's not going to be the same guys. It's not going to be multiple guys each week. It's certainly not going to be all of the guys. So if that's the case, you can learn these lessons and stay, as the top dog and potentially run the table and still be in a position where you're locked in, ready to go, very sharp for the playoffs. And almost like the team is what's going to keep the pressure on rather than, the external factors. It's intrinsic motivation versus what's going on the outside. And I think that's a good spot for the 49ers to be in, where they can be, one of the most dominant teams in the NFL and have that in their pocket at any time.
I love that. All right. We have a couple questions here. We have a Browns fan in here, so shout out to tuning in. Hope you appreciate the show. I can't find the question, but he said, on the flip side, if the Browns win the game tomorrow, what does that say about the Browns? Talk about unexpected, gritty win. You pulled it out with no expectations to do so with your backup quarterback that you just pulled off your practice squad. That would be extremely impressive. I think that would be talking about a really, really good defense that allowed you to stay in the game and an offense that's maybe better than expected. If you guys have anything to add, feel free. If not, let me get to the next question.
I think that if the Browns manage to win, it'll be a really, really good shot in the arm for them. And I think they come back and they probably could end up winning that division. That is the kind of motivation that, can drive a team to a postseason run and things like that, and so they're definitely not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. It's too early in the season for any team to be out of it right now. But this is something that, it would definitely be a boost in the arm for them, a shot in the arm for them. So, the Browns, I think that they know what people expect of them. I haven't seen anyone pick the Browns to win yet. I haven't seen it yet outside of like some Browns fans, but that this is the kind of win that, hey, we did it with PJ Walker. Wait till we get our guy back. You know what I'm saying? Like wait until everybody is healthy. Our offensive linemen come back. Imagine if we go out there with 2 missing starting offensive linemen and we beat the 49ers with that defensive line. Wait till our guys come back. Like that's the kind of motivation that's at stake for them. Or even if they just keep it close. Again, they don't have to win it. If they just keep it close and say, guys, look at what we did against the best team in the NFL. This is what we're building here, and that's a lot to build on, man. It's a lot to build on.
I like that. All right. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Matt.
real quick, I'll just say that if the Browns beat the 49ers, what'll it mean for the Browns? That they should immediately go out and purchase a bunch of Powerball tickets because they are the luckiest motherfuckers alive, because there's no reason that the Browns should be able to win this game.
All right, next question from Mark Cisneros. If the Niners make an all-in push for somebody like Danielle Hunter or Brian Burns, would you include Drake Jackson in order to seal the deal? That's a tough one. Brian Burns, yes. Danielle Hunter, no.
It's not tough for me. You send them. You send them, right? And it's no offense to, it's no offense to Jackson or anything like that. I think Niner fans are so in love with him because he was the top pick of that draft where we didn't have a first or second round pick, right? And then he comes out week 1, he gets to 3 sacks. I consider 2 of them coverage sacks, but whatever. And then he's kind of done nothing. And the Niners did reward him. That game was his lowest amount of snaps on the season, and he hasn't come close to replicating that kind of production or effectiveness at all. So to me, not saying that he's not going to get better or anything like that. What I'm saying is, what and who Brian Burns is. There has been no contract extension. I saw someone else ask that. Did he sign as an extension already? There has not been a contract extension yet for Brian Burns. And if I'm them, I don't extend him until after the trade deadline because you don't know what you could get for him. So there you go. Antonio was the one that asked it. But if I'm them, I don't extend them until after the trade deadline. But yeah, I would absolutely send Drake Jackson. You got to kind of, it's give and take. You're going to give up something. We're not going to get a Brian Burns type player for a 7th round pick. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to give up something to get him.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm with Zach. For Brian Burns, yes. For Danielle Hunter, no. I think Danielle Hunter is a really good player, but age becomes a factor. I think he's 33 years old, so
yes,
you're starting to run into that. And then, however much his contract. I do think it's a little bit of maddening, I guess, a little bit of Madden GMing to do a player who plays the same position swap. Like that just never happens. So that, could I see the 49ers trading for one of the two? I doubt it at this point with the trade for Randy Gregory. I think they're going to be set. I do believe more of the rumors of like they've reached out to Chicago about Jalen Johnson. That to me sounds more realistic. I just don't know that, again, how much are you willing to put into an already pretty stacked defensive line when really it's not the defensive line? Because if you look at, and again, take PFF grades with a grain of salt, but a lot of the 49ers players on the defensive line are getting pressure after the quarterback. The sacks just aren't there because they're playing off the ball and giving up a lot of short stuff underneath. I think that corner is still the more needed position in terms of upgrading. So I feel like if it was going to be realistic, then it would be, for a corner.
Yeah. Stewart's
asking. My bad. I thought Danielle Hunter was older than who's the other guy from Minnesota?
Yeah, I think you're thinking about Everson Griffin.
It might be Everson Griffin. Sorry about that, guys.
I think that's who you were thinking.
I thought he was older too, maybe.
Should at 28 then? I'll take Danielle Hunter too. And actually, I think Danielle Hunter is actually probably a better pass rusher than Brian Burns, in my opinion.
The comment that was just on there said first time catching the show. I don't know which stream you're watching from. Make sure you subscribe to both channels, 49ers Hive and Nothing But Niners. Thanks for being a first time viewer. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We got a couple super chats here. Our guy, Gray Fox 198. Appreciate the support always, brother. Also remember that Wilkes knows Walker well. He coached him last year with the Panthers. Exactly. And I think Kyle Shanahan even said that when he sat down with Greg Papa today or yesterday on the YouTube channel interview. And he said
Tom Papa's the comedian, bro.
They're all related somehow. I don't know.
Mike, you're right. I was thinking of Everson Griffin, who's in his 30s. Danielle Hunter is 28. So my bad, guys. I was completely wrong on that one.
And then another super chat from JP Hellahard 2800. Niners Purdy 7, so 37. Browns 6. I like that. And then super chat. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I just want to say I know it's not considered a super chat, but my guy Grizz, thank you for becoming a new member to the Nothing But Niners page. I saw that in there as well. Thank you very much. We appreciate that too.
Shout out Grizz. Master Chef, I just hate to say that this could be a trap game. I think, what's crazy is I was looking back at my schedule when we did predictions back in September or July, whenever the hell this schedule came out. I had this as a loss. I have an L here on my sheet.
Yeah, I mean,
so
a lot has
differently.
changed health-wise, I think, is the biggest issue. But I don't know, man. Before the season, I would have been like, oh, yeah, there's potential for trap games. But like we've already touched on, this team has so much from each side of the ball, and they seem to answer the bell every time. I don't know if there is such a thing as a trap game for this team.
Yeah.
Like, they might have all the answers for all the traps. You know what I mean? Like, they might have all the keys.
I don't know if I had this one as a loss or the Vikings game. It was the back-to-back road games thing that was, bothering me. And I didn't like it. There were two respectable teams, heading into the season. I definitely had one of them as a loss. I don't remember which one. But my thing is, as much as we compliment, like, Brock Purdy and his level-headedness at all times, right? Christian McCaffrey is also a huge spark to the focus of specifically the offense, right? Last week when they pulled him, he was begging Shanahan. And these aren't my words. Shanahan said it, right? Like, he's like begging me, like, come on, let me go back in there for one more drive. Like, I can feel it. We're gonna bust a big one. Shanahan said no, and the very next play was the big run by Mason, right? And so, like, he said he looked over at McCaffrey like, sorry, like, I should have let you get it. You know what I mean? Like, so Christian McCaffrey's mentality as just the running back, that has to be infectious as well. That is one of the hardest competing players on this team, on both sides of the ball. I don't know if it can be a trap. You might get shocked early, but those second half adjustments are coming, and the Niners will have an answer for anyone. There's no score too much for them to overcome. I just don't know if trap games exist anymore.
And I think it's such a perfect combination of veterans at all of the skill players and a younger younger player at the quarterback position, because that kind of chemistry just works out to where he understands what is required of him and what's expected of him because of all of the other players who have been in the league for so long and understand. I mean, I saw, was it Bosa or Warner talking about how much they want to win because of Deshaun Gibson. I don't know how many years he has left playing in the NFL. We need to get a ring this year because of him. Like, they understand the urgency because of veterans that are playing at a higher level like these other players. So it just really gels perfectly. All right. Go ahead, Matt.
I just want to bring up this comment from Mark Cisneros. That 2021 Titans game makes me never guarantee a win. No King Henry and had third string OG starting at OT and the 49ers lost. That was a terrible Jimmy G game.
And I was just going to say, that villain is no longer on this team, sir. No, your fears no longer have to be feared.
He had two horrific picks in that game and had opportunities where the 49ers were down the field and just could not punch the ball in. And so that it's a big difference between that and what we got here. So in all honesty, I think that this 49ers team would blow out the 2021 49ers like for free.
That game was the reason why I learned that Janoris Jenkins was still in the league and played for Tennessee, because Jimmy threw a ball straight to him in the end zone. Shout out to Jimmy. And that we wore 94 throwbacks that game too. Such a waste.
That game in particular, right? When you're looking at it, forget that game, right? A major difference between Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo is Brock quickly realizes when he needs to check down, where whoever he's checking down to can still make a play. Where Jimmy wanted to hold on to it for so long and then go to the check down, it was like contact immediately. So, he's not patting the ball. You don't get any of that stuff. He's looking eyes downfield. There's nothing here. I'm going to move, boom, go. Like, that's Brock Purdy's processing. So that's not here anymore. And it's a beautiful thing. I literally got chills when you guys said it. I don't know if you guys saw me. Like, I wasn't shimmying out of happiness. I literally got a chill, like, when you guys said it. So he called him that villain.
Jimmy's happy feet anytime his first read's not there. What I do? All right. Let's get into our offensive and defensive players of the game predictions. But before we do, we got to pay the bills. Shout out to MyBookie. We will be right back. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first 2 legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to mybookie.ag right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, go place your bets right now. The game's at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Pacific Standard Time. I know for a fact my bets are placed because I'm not going to wake up tomorrow on time, have time to go through all of them and get them in. So place them right now. MyBookie.ag, promo code HIVE. All right, guys. Offensive MVP predictions. I'll start since I'm on the big screen to start. I think this is another big George Kittle game. Not to pat myself on the back, but last week I was correct with my predictions for like the first time ever. So I picked Purdy and Warner to have big games, and they did. I think George Kittle's going to have a big game. I'm going to say George Kittle, 4 receptions for 100 yards and another 2 touchdowns. George Kittle. Matt, who do you got?
Listen, man, it seems like a dirty type of day. It seems like a dirty type of day for the 49ers. We don't know. Maybe the weather's going to be good. Maybe it's not. But, you know, a dirty game, physical game. It's Cleveland. It's Ohio. Something tells me that Deebo Samuel is going to have himself a game. I think that he's going to get a lot of utilization. He's been, he's had one really breakout game, but other than that, relatively quiet. I think he comes around and has another one of his big games. I think that he's going to get, 50 yards on the ground, 75 yards in the air, and he's going to be a big-time dual threat for the 49ers in this game.
Okay, I like that. Mike, who do you got?
I'm going to go way off the grid with this one, guys. I'm going to go with Mason. I think that I think he showed something last week. I think the Niners are going to have a little bit more confidence in him. I'm going to side with what Matt was saying, a little bit of a dirty, thumper thud game. And I think that he showed enough last week to warrant more touches in the rotation. And I think that he's going to make the most of each one of those attempts. I'm going to go with something like 12 to 15 carries, 85 to 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Mason.
Okay, damn. Big game.
Yeah.
Scott, by the way, says Titans game cost us a Super Bowl. We could have rested stars in LA week 18. Instead, we had to try and win 4 straight road games in 4 weeks versus 4 playoff teams. Never been done. We were exhausted.
I will say this, though. I was at that week 18 game in LA, and that game was fucking awesome.
It's a fantastic game to go back and watch. Comment your offensive and defensive MVPs in the chat. Predictions. We'd love to hear them. Defensive MVP. I'm tempted to say Randy Gregory, but I won't. I'll say Nick Bosa. I think this is Nick Bosa's coming out party. Last time the 49ers played the Browns in Santa Clara, Bosa just went off. It's the infamous flag planting game. Baker Mayfield's no longer there. That's not going to change anything for Nick Bosa. I think he's still going to be out for blood. And PJ Walker, unfortunately, will be on the receiving end of that. I'm going to say Nick Bosa, 2 sacks. Mike, what do you got?
My defensive player of the game is going to be Zadarius Smith of the Browns. No, I'm kidding. I think that this game is going to be I wanted to say, I don't even know if he's going to play that. I'll go with Fred Warner again. I'm gonna give this one to Fred Warner. I think they blitz him twice. I think he's successful on those blitzes. One's going to be a sack. One's going to be a sack fumble. And then, his normal 5 to 8 tackles in a game. Maybe a batted ball that comes up as an interception or something like that. Fred Warner, player of the game, back-to-back in defensive player type games for Fred Warner.
I love that. I love that. Mike, sorry, Matt.
You already know what it is. Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. I say that every week. Although this week, with a caveat, I'm going to throw in also, I think that with Joe Bitonio being out, this could be a big Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead type of game as well.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Final score predictions. The weather is going to be a factor or could be a factor, but it's not going to be a factor in my final score prediction. I'm going to go 49ers 33-13. They're going to beat the shit out of the Cleveland Browns. Matt, I'm going to throw it back to you. What do you got?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first time that the 49ers don't hit 30 points just because of the weather. But I do think that it's going to be a dominant game. I think they get it done 24-3.
Okay. Mike?
28-10 49ers. No. 29-10.
The 1 point makes a big difference. Why not 30?
Because why? Okay, so I don't think that we get in the end zone as many times as we think we should. I don't know. God. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 29. I'm gonna go with 29.
Just barely missing the 30-point threshold, huh?
Yeah, but we'll still be averaging more than 30, so it's okay.
Okay. All right. Guys, drop your final score predictions in the chat. If you get them right, we'll send you some free merch. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. But we still have our chat pack for tonight, which I already have pre-selected. I am a good host. I have it all ready to go.
All right.
All right. Chat pack time. And comment your answers in the chat as well. We'd love to hear them. If you could stand at the pinnacle of any natural object or man-made structure in any time of history, what would it be? That's a tough one.
What does it mean by stand at the pinnacle?
I would imagine just stand in front of and witness with your own eyes, be in the presence of experience. That's how I take it. I have one if you guys are thinking. I think I'm not even sure if it's confirmed to have actually existed, but I've seen it. I believe it's one of the 7 wonders of the world, or whatever they're called for the ancient world. The Colossus of Rhodes. There supposedly was this giant statue of a man, right, who stood at kind of like a port of a waterway. And you know what? I should pull it up. This is what I don't know if it's been confirmed it exists, but this thing looks insane. Could you imagine standing at the foot of this where ships would sail through? It's beautiful.
This looks like something from Game of Thrones. Like they had something like this in one of the cities in Game of Thrones. That's pretty impressive right there.
It's insane. So apparently it was in one of the Greek cities. And yeah, there's different kind of depictions of what it looked like. But apparently a earthquake took it out. Go figure. So that's my option. That's my answer. What do you guys have?
I think that now this is going to be predicated on me being able to, actually speak / read the language. But I think the Great Library of Alexandria would be what I would like to see. There's just so much, it was destroyed to fire. There was so much knowledge that was lost in that fire, so much history, and it would just be a beautiful thing to be able to kind of recapture what that was. I don't think we'll ever get to know, but I mean, you're talking about the nursery of civilization coming up. A lot of people don't even know that Iraq was once one of the major mathematics powerhouses in the ancient world, and that was lost to time. And the Library of Alexandria had countless treasures that were lost. So that's where I would, pinnacle of anything, it would be that for sure.
That's a good one. That was almost my answer. Mike?
I would like to sit in the palm and just get the view of the Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio. I don't even know if it's possible, right? But like that would be like quite the view to sit there and just like, oh, that's not the picture I wanted it to be, but it's fine. But if if you look at that from behind, like, and how it's overlooking the city, it is a phenomenal, phenomenal picture, man. Like, and there it is. That's the one right there. Imagine sitting in the palm of that and like just taking it all in. That would be incredible to me.
Crazy. And that's doable. Like that's one that's still around today. I
Right.
don't know about sitting in the palm, but you can go and stand at the feet and see it. So that's a good one. That's a good one. Chat, please comment yours.
You know, one other one that I just thought of too that I think would be pretty sick is being at like the pyramids at Giza when they were like brand new.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Or like the Sphinx when it's still. So there's speculation that the Sphinx didn't look like it did, that they recarved it. And that when the Sphinx was built, that there's evidence at the base that there was some water damage, which means that the water was much higher. It'd be super cool to go back to ancient Egypt and see like a lot of how they did that. I still need to know how the pyramids were built, man.
Yeah. Same.
You know how they were built.
I know. I don't want. Hey, you. Yep.
Another answer.
We are not alone.
Is it the Colosseum? And I've read that they used to flood it and have entire warships go in there and have like simulated battles, like for fun. Could you imagine the sight of that? Like a Colosseum being flooded. This is such an advanced civilization for its time. It's impossible to even imagine.
Yeah, that's actually on my bucket list. I want to actually get there in real life. I'm still amazed by. I understand like it's run down and everything now, and they do tours and all, but like the fact that there's windows with statues in each one and all that stuff, like just how, right? Like it's just one of those things. And so I still have that place on my bucket list. So
it's crazy, man. There's so many things to see in the world. But we're gonna start with tomorrow. The Niners beating the hell out of the Browns. Let's go, baby. Thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Mike, let the folks know where to find you. I'm sure they already know, but let them know.
Yeah, again, guys, check out us over at Nothing But Niners on the YouTube page. You can search NB9ERS or Nothing But Niners. And then we also have the Patreon page right there at the bottom of the screen. Bam, patreon.com/NB9ERS. For those of you who are already subscribed, there was some kind of like dump of drafts of episodes that I posted, but they were also saved as drafts from the last couple of years. I don't know what exactly happened. Sorry about that. Some old content. You can go back and see if my hot takes in those videos were true or not. So I got a lot of comments from people like, what is this? Why is this posted? What are you doing? This is from October 2 years ago. I don't know what happened. So my drafts are empty now and they got posted again. So sorry.
It's Mike's prediction of Ahkello Witherspoon, Defensive Player of the Year.
By the way, number 2 corner in the NFL right now. Guys, if you guys should set up bingo cards, right? And what should be on there is Mike mentioning Ahkello Witherspoon, Matt talking about Lamar Jackson, right? Like there's certain things that we could like put together a bingo card for and like just see how often you guys hit. Like that would be a lot of fun.
I love
we
that.
We should do that.
It's actually a good idea.
We should. Everybody, the chat, the faithful viewers, put together a bingo card for us. We'd love to see that. All right, Matt, you want to carry us out?
Absolutely. Look, this game tomorrow is probably going to be uglier than the Dylan Dennis Logan Paul fight tonight. It's going to be a knockdown drag out, except that this time somebody's actually going to get their ass kicked, and it's probably going to be the Cleveland Browns. Fun day of football. We're going to get to know the result early in the day. A little bit, of a relief to get football back in our lives and to be there early in the morning. So 49ers, go out, take care of business, get out of there healthy, get on to the next one. Very much looking forward to it. So for Zach, for Mike, we love having you here. Much ado about nothing, but let's get out of here. Enjoy the rest of our evening so we can wake up fresh, get some breakfast in our systems, get some lunch for some of our East Coast guys, and then just watch this ass whooping. So thank you again for joining us. We love having you here each and every week, and especially tomorrow morning and every day of every week. Go Niners.